Hi Stampers, this is Marie Bennett at blackberriesandcream.net, and I'm here today to make one more Wondrous Wreath card for you that I found on Pinterest and pasted and pinned on my Wondrous Wreath board. This card technically is not using Wondrous Wreath. We're using the Peaceful Wreath stamp set, and we're going to use this image and this sentiment. Okay, so I got this card online from Lena Gersa, and her website is alacards@blogspot.com, and I think Lena is another Canadian demonstrator. So if you want to check out Lena's ideas, go to alacards@blogspot.com. Alright, for this card, we're going to be using Very Vanilla for our wreath, and we're going to be doing some embossing. So I'm going to take my Versamark and ink up the wreath symbol or stamp from the Peaceful Wreath set, and I'm going to turn it this way because this is how I keep track of what I'm doing. Put the arrow pointing up and let that Versamark kind of soak into the cardstock a bit. Pull it off, and we're going to be stamping in gold embossing powder. So I'll get my gold out like that. And there's our image. I'm going to take it over to my heat gun, and I'll be right back. So I have heat embossed my wreath and lined up the thinlits around the wreath so that it's going to cut a perfect image. And you can see that not only do the stamps have a tab, but the thinlits have a tab that shows you that helps you line things up so that everything gets right where it needs to be. So I'm going to take this over to the Big Shot and run it through using my magnetic platform. And then when I'm finished, I'm going to run this piece through the Big Shot on gold foil, because we'll be using a gold foil piece. Okay, so there you have it, the wreath, gold embossed wreath, and the piece cut out of gold foil using a thinlet from the set Christmas Greetings, which is in the new holiday catalog. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started with putting this card together. Okay, so I'm going to stamp at Christmas right here. I'm using a little bit bigger piece of paper than I need, but I want to be able to trim it so that it's straight and the right thickness. And I'm going to use my Stampin' Trimmer for this because I want at Christmas to be parallel to the edge of the paper I'm cutting. So I'm just going to cut it like that, turn around. Now I can line this edge up, even though it looks all cattywampus. And that's not quite enough. Give it another 1/8 of an inch. There. And now it looks like it was stamped straight, even though my scrap of paper tells you that it wasn't. Okay, so the greeting is ready. We're going to be using a piece of Tip Top Taupe cardstock. The Tip Top Taupe has been cut at 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4, and we're going to fold it down the middle. And on the inside of the card, we're using the sentiment, "May the peace of Christmas be yours this season and throughout the coming year." And this sentiment I found in in the Peaceful Pines stamp set. It's not the same one that Lena used in her card, but I don't have that stamp set, so I used what I have. And this piece of Very Vanilla cardstock is cut at 4 inches by 5 1/4. Alright, on the outside of the card, we're using a piece of Very Vanilla cardstock that also was cut at 4 inches by 5 1/4, and it has been dry embossed in the Big Shot using the embossing folder Softly Falling. And on Lena's card, she has the heavier snow at the top. So that's what we're going to do. Put that, are we ready for that? Not yet. I get ahead of myself. So on this piece of cardstock, we're going to put a piece of the vellum that's from the Winter Wonderland collection. And we're just going to put it across across the front of the card. And this piece of vellum measures 4 inches by 2 inches. And I'm going to attach it using glue dots. And I'm just going to put one glue dot in the center at each end. Right about here, maybe. Try to get it straight across the card. Okay. Now, the next thing I need across here is a piece of crumb cake. I think it's crumb cake. Yes, crumb cake. What's it called? Stitched satin ribbon. Crumb cake stitched satin. And I just need enough to overlap the edge and wrap around the back a little bit. So probably 4 3/4 inches is plenty. So on the back I'm going to put some snail. Now this ribbon has two sides. One's a little flat and the other is shiny. I want the shiny side up. So start, and I want to position my ribbon so that it covers up my glue dot. Like that. And there we have it. Alright, now I can adhere this to the card front. This. Okay, so the next thing we're going to put on is this. Let me go look at the card. Yes, the wreath goes on next, and we will be attaching that using dimensionals. So I'm going to use 4 and just kind of put them across from each other so that there's plenty of support for this wreath all the way around. And the wreath has, if you look at the center of the wreath, it has a little notch right here. And I like to have that at, I'm going to call it 7 o'clock. So up a little bit. Like that. Okay. Now, the sentiment at Christmas, I'm going to put on with a glue dot. Actually, I'm going to use 2 glue dots, one on each point, and just attach it right here to the wreath. And then we have just one more thing that we need. Up here we need a little bow out of this crumb cake ribbon. So I'm just going to tie a bow and then cut the ribbon. Give myself a little wiggle room. And I want to get the ribbon so that the shiny side of the ribbon is the outside of the bow. So I just play with it for a little while until I've accomplished that. Pull it tight, then get it to the size I want. Okay. Cut the tails. And I'm going to attach the ribbon using glue dots also. Right at the top of the wreath. Okay, so I'm back in editing mode, and I realized I did the card wrong. So I need to put that sentiment piece that we cut out of gold foil across the middle of the wreath. And I'm going to be using glue for that. And really all you need to do is put a little glue on the P and the tail of the P and a little glue on the E and stick it to both sides of the wreath. You really don't need glue all the way across the word. And once you get the word peace across the wreath, then it looks too crowded on there to have the sentiment attached to the wreath. So I've attached it below the wreath on the card. And that turns out to be a very nice card. Well, thanks for watching.